have you ever felt like you're doing all the right things, showing up consistently, putting in the hard work, but you feel like you can't see any results, no progress, nothing? I totally understand. One thing I'm realizing is that growth is invisible before it becomes undeniable. Let's talk about the compound effect for a second. The compound effect is when you take small and consistent actions towards a project, a goal, or just whatever it is that you're working towards in life. Often it feels like those little steps and small actions that you're taking towards that thing, there's nothing happening. But what then happens is that over time, it can lead to a huge positive result. The bamboo tree typically goes through a phase of a 0 to 5 year span where it feels like you can't see any growth. At the 5th year, it shoots up and starts growing rapidly. Okay? Now, I feel like this is where a lot of the times we lose it as people on the journey of becoming, where we feel like we may have started this self-development journey, we've started something new, a business, but then we feel like we're not seeing progress in year 1. We feel like we're not seeing progress in year 2, in year 3. And this is where some people stop watering, and this is where some people give up. I myself, I have given up a couple of times where I have started projects and I have stopped simply because I wasn't seeing any results in what I was doing, and also actually because I didn't even know why I was doing this in the first place. Okay, so I feel like a lot of the times we stop here in the 0 to 5 year span where we feel like we're not seeing any growth. There's no great person today that started year 1 and literally just excelled in year 1. I mean, supernaturally things like that can happen, because it's about Isaac who, sowed a seed in a year and reaped it in a year. I listened to an interview of a guy who I think went into tech. His name is Augustine. If you can find him on Instagram and follow him, he's great. Like, he makes great videos. He talked about how he started his tech business in a year and has made a lot of money just from starting his business in a year. I believe that's possible. I genuinely believe it's possible. But let's not also forget that people do have their own times and seasons. People have their own time and seasons, and we can't necessarily compare, right, what Augustine has done to the next person, because when you think about it, when people have their own time and seasons, okay, we don't know the work that Augustine has been putting into himself over the years that makes it seem like he just came to that place of just sowing and reaping in the same year. Like I said, I definitely believe that this thing's going to happen supernaturally due to the Bible saying this. I genuinely believe. But when we see people flourishing in their career, in themselves, we see how they're charismatic, the way they carry themselves, we're like, oh my God, I really love this person. Like, she's so kind, she's very joyful, she's very disciplined and all of this, or he or she, right? But behind that person has had to go through their own bamboo season of feeling like there was nothing to show for the hard work that they were putting in themselves. They've gone through that 0 to 5 year span where it felt like the growth was invisible, but they kept on going, they kept on watering, they kept on putting in the work, they kept on showing up, regardless of how they felt. They kept on taking those small actions and steps. They were consistent, because if at any point they gave up and did not put in their all into what they're doing, we would not see them for this person that they are today. We would not admire the success that they are in character, in career, or whatever it is that makes us admire these people. They put in the work. They never stopped. They never gave up. This is where it brings me to talk about not to compare ourselves. We cannot compare ourselves with someone who has gone ahead of us. Even if it's not someone that has gone ahead of you, and it's just someone that you see on your side in your journey, and you can see this person, trying their best, doing whatever it is that you're doing, excelling, just flourishing, whatever it is that you see the next person on your side doing, right? You don't know why they're doing it. You don't know what drives them, right? So everyone has their own time. Everyone has their own seasons. Our destinies are all created differently. Okay, so we cannot compare ourselves to people. The reason why we tend to want to rush and feel like we need to get certain results in a certain time is because we're rushing. We're seeing other people and we're like, I have to catch up. What are you trying to catch up with? What are you trying to catch up with? Because when that person was born, they weren't created with you. So that person was born to create and run their own race. Just like Martin Luther King ran his own race, right? Every single person that we see and we admire today, they all ran their own race. That's the same with you, right? They say comparison is a thief of joy. And I can't lie, I couldn't agree more. I'm not gonna like sit down here and be like I've not compared myself in the past. I've definitely compared myself to people, like, you know, in the past. But right now I feel like I'm in a space where I'm just solely focusing on my journey and just where I'm going and people who have gone ahead of me. And when I'm focusing on them is what I can learn from them, how they inspire me, not because I'm trying to like quickly get to where they are, to be honest, because it's the pressure. It's just unnecessary. I think life is a lot on its own than to start pressuring yourself to catch up with people that have put in 20 years of work and you want to start catching up with them. No, I think they put in that 20 years of work so that we can learn from them, so that we can see, so that there can be a blueprint for us to be like, do you know what? I want to be like this person, but I admire certain character traits and everything that this person have, but realistically they did put in the work, you know? Is it for career? Like you want to get into a certain career, you want to get into acting, you want to be the best singer, whatever it is, you've got to put in the work. You do have to put in that work. You've got to show up. You've got to take those little steps day by day. You know, if you're into your self-development, your growth journey, you've got to put in the work. The days where you feel like you don't want to show up, you have to show up. The days where it feels overwhelming, where it's almost like healing is not possible that day and everyone's making you angry, and it's like, you know, because you know when you go through that that people pleaser phase of like not being a people pleaser anymore, and then you start getting angry at everyone, at yourself. It's a normal phase to be, because I'm sort of there at the moment. But at the same time, you know, like what can you choose to do in that moment? You know, you can choose to operate in a healthy way. Like you can be angry at yourself, but you can also choose to be compassionate to yourself as well. So instead of, you know, those moments where it feels like the bad habits are overwhelming and it's almost like, but I thought I was over this, you can still take one step to do something differently. And even if during that day or that time you don't do something differently, it's okay, because as long as you have it in mind that you will get back up, that's what matters the most. As long as you have the mindset of I'm going to get back up from this, that's what matters the most. Okay, and when you get back up, that's a compound effect, because that's still a small consistent action. Let's say, but you know, of course, let's be real, like depending on how much work that you put into that which you're working on will determine the result. Yes, you're being consistent, and consistent could look like you doing that thing once a week or once in even 2 weeks, but at least you're taking that step anyways. It could be you doing it once in a month. That's still consistent. If you decide today to be like, I'm only going to do this thing once in a month, and you're going to be doing it every month, that's you being consistent. Don't see that as you not being consistent. It's just that if you choose to do it once in a month, you're not going to see the same growth that a person who is doing it once in a week or even 5 times a week. You know, you're not going to see the same growth as someone who is putting that much effort 5 times a week. Do you get what I mean? Like the person who is putting in the effort 5 times a week is going to get more out of you who is putting once in a week. But hey, I'm a very spiritual person. I'm a Christian, so I still believe that things can happen supernaturally. Like where one person is doing something a month, I personally believe that, you know, if it's God's will for you to be accelerated in certain parts of your life, even if you just do it once a week, and God's like, well, we've got to accelerate this person, God will. Do you get what I mean? It does not mean that, you know, you can't still reap, you know, even more than the person who life is just not fair like that. And that's the truth to favor is not fair like that. God is not an irresponsible God. I don't feel like he gives things to people irresponsibly. I genuinely don't believe that. You know, you just never know what that person was doing years before that will cause them to now be in a season where they're just doing it once in a month and they're reaping more. So I think all I'm just trying to say, I just want to encourage you to just keep on taking that step, whether you see the results or not. Keep on taking that step, keep on showing up, because you just never know when that breakthrough would be. Like, don't give up. And when you're following people, please, like, follow them for them to inspire you, and not because you're trying to run a race that they've already run 20 to 30 years ahead of you. You know, follow people because you know, you want to be inspired, not because you want to compare your life to them. It can be so easy to compare ourselves in this generation, and I understand. We're in such a quick generation where everyone wants to go viral. Everyone wants to be seen, everyone wants to be heard, because it looks like almost everyone during their childhood sort of were neglected or something. But I think that says a lot about our generation. But it feels like a lot of people have just grown up in spaces where, unheard, where they've not been heard and seen, and everybody wants to be seen and everybody wants to go viral and all of that. And it's amazing, it's nice, I'm not saying it's not, but it's why do you want to go viral? Why is it to be validated? I'm heavy on this validation thing because I used to want to do things to be validated. I wanted to do things because I wanted to be seen too as talented and gifted, because for such a long time myself, I was visionless. I didn't know who I was. I was shy away. I saw everyone thriving, and somehow I felt like I wasn't thriving. So the moment I discovered my own part, I'm like, yes, the whole world must see it. But really and truly, must they? Like, for me, I believe I'm cool to some people. I don't believe I'm cool to everyone in the world. I know that I'm cool to some people, and I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that. And as time goes on, like however it happens for me, it will happen. It will grow, because I am a child of God, and because in this world I'm meant to be growing. Like, as human beings, we're meant to be growing, we're meant to be evolving. So personally, I believe that I will grow in anything I do, in anything I lay my hands on, I will grow. And I want you to believe that for yourself as well. So, like, never despise the days of your humble beginnings. Honestly, enjoy it. And I feel like I find myself just enjoying the process and enjoying where I'm at now. And I've also genuinely filtered out people that I follow on Insta. I'm like, I only want to see those that have gone ahead of me, or that I'm going where I'm going, so that they can inspire me, So I want to share 3 things to keep you encouraged when you feel like you're not seeing any growth. Number 1, celebrate you. Celebrate the little wins that you make. Celebrate those micro wins. And what are micro wins? Micro win is when you decide to put that wine down, as a coping mechanism, instead of dealing with your emotions naturally. Micro wins are when you decide to show up and do a 1-minute video for your page when you didn't feel like it. Micro win is when you feel like, okay, this person does not deserve my forgiveness, I want to be mean to them, but you choose to be kind to them. That's you healing. Micro wins could be you going to the gym on the day that you don't feel like going, and when you come back, you're like, wow, Ungazi, you actually did that. You clap for yourself, celebrate those little wins that you see when you get that degree, when you go to class, when you're able to come out of bed, after being depressed, and you're able to brush your teeth and shower and do things that make you happy. That's a micro win, So always celebrate your micro wins, no matter how small it is. Number 2 is trust the unseen growth. Just like the bamboo tree, like the 5-year span. I mean, if you give up there, then that's where you will never see the growth, right? That 5-year span, like, trust the unseen growth. Where you feel like you're not seeing growth, know that it's happening. Know that it's happening within you when you're planting that seed inside of you. Anytime that you do something different, anytime you choose to do opposite of what you typically do, know that definitely, like, growth is on the horizon, so you can trust the unseen growth. The bamboo tree is a great lesson, let's be real. I just feel like it speaks enough for itself, that the first 5 years you don't see the growth, but then 5 years after, like, literally that 5th year, it literally shoots up. Like, where have you come from, right? Trust the unseen growth, because it's definitely happening. Third thing would be to revisit your why. Why are you doing it? That's such an important question. I will always say, revisit your why. Why am I doing this? Like I said, are you doing it for validation? Are you doing it for validation, to be validated by people that you don't know, so you can feel worthy, so you can feel like you're the most talented person? Or because really and truly you do have a passion for it, and you really want to impact the world with the beauty that God has given inside of you? Why are you doing it? I feel like when you have a strong why, and I said this before in my previous video, when you have a strong why, it keeps you going, because your heart and your mind is in the right place. But when you have a false why, it's almost like, I've been through moments in my life as well, especially recently, where it feels like, God, where's all the growth, all the seed I've been planting, where is it? But I believe that it will grow. I believe that every time I spend time with the word of God, spend time in his presence, it doesn't matter, it's growing. Like, the word is growing. The seeds is growing. The woman I'm meant to be, I'm growing into that woman, and in those moments, it's not easy to accept, but I'm going to accept it. I choose to believe it, because you know, faith can move a mountain. If God has called me to believe, the one who created the heavens and the earth has called me to believe, then I have no other choice not to believe. Why should I not believe the person who created the heavens and the earth? No matter how much I'm feeling, I don't care about my feelings. If he's called me to believe, I'm finna believe. I will be believing if God has called me to.